The Sherpa Screening Room is a presentation of podcast picks with Jim the Podcast Sherpa. These are episodes featuring interviews with artists and creators from various fields. Coincidentally, when the Sherpa tries to be entertaining, afterwards, he gets abandoned in various fields.
Today in the Sherpa Screening Room, it's an interview with actor James Dumont from the Max streaming series, Righteous Gemstones. He's here to talk about his new movie, Unit 234, and about acting. You know, the Sherpa directed a movie about constipation. It still hasn't come out yet.
Coming to you from Sherpa Chalet in beautiful downtown Mount Podcastia, it's time for entertainment interviews in the Sherpa Screening Room. Grab an aisle seat and a bucket of popcorn, but don't crunch too loud or you'll miss the show. Now, here's your host, Jim, the Podcast Sherpa.
Hello there, Rebels of the Sherpa-lution, and welcome to the Sherpa Screening Room, a presentation of podcast picks with Jim the Podcast Sherpa. Oh, that's me, by the way. Hello. In these episodes, we get to hear from creators such as producers, directors, writers, singers, and actors. Our guest today, actor James Dumont, is currently in the Max series Righteous Gemstones and is one of the stars in the upcoming movie Unit 234, which will be released to theaters and video on demand on May 5th, 2025. James has been in 150 movies and TV shows in his career, and I guarantee you, he's been in some of your favorites, regardless of what your favorites are. He's that busy. This was an interview that really left me saying, wow, at the end, because he's very insightful. You're going to hear this. And he's really dedicated to his craft as well. So let's have a listen to my interview with actor James Dumont. Hello there, Rebels. We are here in the Sherpa Screening Room. My guest today, he's a busy guy. And even the email that I got says he's the busiest guy in Hollywood. And I would actually have a hard time arguing that statement. He is going to be in an upcoming movie with Don Johnson, Isabel Fuhrman, and Jack Houston called Unit 234. It will be released in theaters and on video on demand on May 9th, 2025. If you were listening to this in 12 years, you missed it. But he's here today, so I'm glad about that. This man has done, is it 80 movies and 70 TV shows to count?
Yeah, something along. I lose count after a while. Once you start to get in the triple digits on one and double digits on, it's just I'm just a working dude.
His name is James Dumont, and he's coming to us from New Orleans.
From New Orleans, Louisiana. That's correct. That's my part-time home, and then I also in New York too, in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, I'll tell you a little story. I've had an actor on my show twice. His name is Larry Hankin. Mm-hmm. And Larry, you know who Larry Hankin is?
I know Larry is, yeah. Larry
has done like about 200 TV shows and movies, and he did his memoirs a few years ago, and he called it That Guy, because he said, people come to me, they're like, I know you, you're that guy. And I'm curious, do you get the same treatment? People are like, I know you from somewhere.
I call it having a that guy moment. You're like, I'll be sitting somewhere, it's like, you look really familiar. And I was like, yeah, I get that a lot. And they're like, so are you my kid's soccer coach? And I was like, no. What about, were you part of that conference? I was like, no, I'm an actor. And they're like, oh, like anything I would have seen you. And I was like, yeah, I get like the short list. I go like Dallas Buyers Club, Jurassic World, SWAT, Speed, and he goes, oh, like it's always an interesting thing. But I had one time this guy kind of like dissed me a bit. And he's like, so I gave him like the little short list and he goes, speaking parts? And I was like, Oh, okay. This is how this is going to go down. It's like, well, what kind of work do you do? Well, I'm a lawyer, mergers, acquisitions. It's like, oh, so do you get coffee for everybody in the office? Do you go down and do all the Xeroxing and file the, it's just like, you basically say, so like because you just assumed that I was an extra. It was interesting how he kind of went to that, like that place. So, and then we didn't talk to each other for the rest of the flight.
Well, at least if you wanted to rest.
I call it that guy moment. Actually, ironically, I've been working on a TV pilot called What's It Like to Be That Guy? Between somebody and nobody is that guy. And so, There's it's a little bit of Curb, it's a little bit of Louis, so yeah, Larry and I know we're that same kind of thing. Like it's a blessing and a curse if you think about it. It's a blessing in the sense that nobody is bothering my personal life, taking pictures of my kids. No one cares.
Right.
And then the curse is like, well, I've been doing all this work, but nobody's really kind of paying attention or acknowledging a little bit. So there's a little feeling like, I said there was a time where I said like, I want to do a role that I don't have to explain to anybody who I was. I said that. I remember saying it. And like less than 2 years later, I'm in Spencer Confidential and I have the matching tracksuit and the car of being, tracksuit Charlie. And it's like, okay, if I have to explain who I was in that movie, like I'm going to strangle somebody because it's like, it is so painfully obvious. I'm all over that film. Right. So yeah, there was a thing where I kind of had to feel like, having to explain who I was, as a, character. And I still kind of do. Like even on Gemstones, they're like, so which one are you? And I was like, I'm Chad. I'm like, I'm part of Danny's group. They're like, yeah, remember they saw my penis in the first. Oh yeah. You're like, I was like, it wasn't mine. I had a body double. So yeah, it was really like, I feel like I think it's a good sweet spot to be in because I also feel that. I think sometimes people get casting directors' job sometimes is to kind of cast you and typecast you and kind of put like you serve me for this particular reason. And I feel like real actors are actors. Like I also don't even consider myself a character actor. Mm-hmm. I think people that play certain stock roles, Slide does one character and this person. So I feel that's a character actor, but I feel like an actor does everything.
Right.
So, the fact that we're not the leading man or the leading woman, like I feel like actors are actors. Like if you were doing theater for the summer, you would be playing all these different roles in a summertime. An actor acts. So, I feel like it's I'm getting used to being in this kind of anonymity, and I also feel it helps me. It definitely helped me for Dallas Buyers Club because there were 3 names in LA and 3 names in New York. And that director didn't want for people to go, oh, that's such and such from, they wanted to believe that I was Jared Leto's father, even though we're 3 years apart, it's mathematically impossible that I'm his father. But so the point is that I think it serves me in that particular way of being able to seamlessly kind of go in and out of characters and not have anybody go, oh, that's the guy that does that,
right?
Because I feel like that I've seen that happen for a lot of people, and in some cases it doesn't serve them in the long term, Sure. Because then again, if that kind of character or that thing falls out of fashion, it's like then the phone stops ringing,
Right. I was just thinking as you're discussing this that acting kind of becomes a double-edged sword because do you want to be the guy who's known for that one character or the guy who's more versatile and can play a lot of different characters and is known that way? Usually the one role gives you the fame and the notoriety that, that like you said, is a blessing and a curse, where the other one, right. Like you get to expand your horizons. And people think they know you, but they don't exactly know you.
That's exactly right.
That's your little cloak.
Like my friend Larry was the soup Nazi. Like that was the thing. Mm-hmm. And that led to a line of soups. But like they're not calling Larry for other stuff.
Right, exactly.
And even I went to high school with Jeremy Piven. It's like, Jeremy, from Entourage, it's like that's. And then the audience just wants that. They just want you to do the same as opposed to doing other stuff. And that's okay. They're familiar with that. That's great. But so there is that kind of thing of like not being too known for one thing. But I do think it's also a challenge, in terms of, pitching. I have a brand new manager and it's like, but my manager's like, oh no, I can pitch you all these different ways to different people because different people see you different ways.
Exactly.
And so I see that as a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And also that's also kind of that thing of like falling into the C word, the character actor world of like he's a character actor. He plays all these kind of characters, and he can kind of, but there's certain actors who do not like that kind of moniker,
Right.
And like William Forsythe and I did a movie together, and someone said, I said, oh man, when you played the character, he goes, don't say the C word. I don't want to hear the C word. You're my favorite character actor. It's like, no, just say I'm your favorite actor. It's like, just keep it like that.
Right.
And so in that regard, I really felt that, I like where I'm at. I think there are times though that I feel, and this is what I've been focused on as of late, is to kind of ask myself, what kind of roles do I want to play and what kind of career do I want to have for the third act of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm kind of going into another phase of my career. And I think the answer has been coming kind of producing my own stuff, finding material that really kind of, suits me and getting it financed and making it, as opposed to really kind of waiting for the business to kind of put two and two together. The good news is they still call, this movie Unit 234 is like a great, like we did this movie 3 years ago, so it was one of those things where I had built a relationship with this casting director in New York. Her boss had cast me in many things before, but she didn't know who I was. So I actually went so far as to kind of do a casting workshop, with her that I paid to kind of meet her. She's, I never met you before. I said, well, that's why we're here, so I've actually gone so far as to kind of continue the building and I'm trying to develop relationships with the next generations of cast directors because they're going to be the next people, doing these projects. So I think the fun part is it's constant change and growth and evolving,
Right. Being that you mentioned Unit 234, can you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about it? I know you can't usually give too much away, but
no, first off, it's a great thriller. There's no two ways about it. Isabel Furman, Jack Houston, and Don Johnson. I get to play Leon, who is Don Johnson's right-hand man. He's his bodyguard, he's his driver, he's his enforcer. So this is another really kind of great departure for me is, I've made a good career off of some incredible supporting lead roles in films, Trumbo, for example, Spencer Confidential. And so the point is when I'm now moving into like the supporting lead of being the right-hand man to the people like Don Johnson. I have this other movie coming out, working opposite Mel Gibson that's going to be coming out soon. So, kind of moving into these areas. So Leon is the driver, the enforcer, his bodyguard. I handle everything that he needs to kind of handle. And so I worked throughout the entire movie with him, which is great. Yeah, if you watch the trailer kind of gives you a good feel of what the thriller is about. I don't want to spoil anything, but the fun part is it's a great cat and mouse game. It's directed by Andy Tennant, who's an amazing director who directed Sweet Home Alabama. He's mostly known for, but he's also a director and showrunner for The Bookie, which is in Los Angeles. So, yeah, it's a great little thriller. We're going to do a small theatrical release, just 5 cities. I think we're doing Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, and one other place. I can't think of what the other place is off the top of my head. So Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Orlando, Detroit, and Atlanta on May 9th. And then that same day, it'll go on video on demand. And then we also going to have it'll be going on stream. It'll be on streaming at some point after that. So, but it's a great little. I'm going out to LA because I want to see it in the movie theater. So I'm going to go to LA to see it in the movie theater and have a great time. But it's a fun little, like if you're looking for a little cat and mouse thriller, curl up, grab some popcorn and have some fun.
Yeah. You've worked on big movie blockbusters and even smaller movies too. What is that like as an actor? I mean, do you prefer one over the other, or it's just an acting experience? All together.
Oh, man. That's a great question. And it's like, again, you chase it so long for so much that when you get it, it's all gravy and it's all enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Because even in the auditioning, and I do a lot of self-taping, it's like, even in my self-taping, I'm actually doing the character and I'm doing the movie and I'm doing the scene as I intend to do it, when I get on set. So, even the audition is a little acting experience in itself, and then getting to do it in the bigger. The only difference for me is I have a costume on, and I actually just deal with another actor, another person, and there's a camera there and some crew, But for me, it's the fundamentals are all the same. But in terms of the overall experience of things, if I really look at, like, for example, I just finished 4 seasons of The Righteous Gemstones playing the same character for 20 episodes, something I've never done before. And this sense of, if anyone's ever worked, or the Danny McBride, hands down, one of the best experiences, period, end of story ever. Just like, there's no better person to work with in the entire business. And the fact that my son is also on the show as well, playing his son.
That was my next question.
We've had this incredible father and son experience for the last 6 years and 4 seasons. And so, for me, these experiences of that is it because Danny McBride works with some of the same people over and over again over decades. There is this sense of family, and there is this sense of community, and there is an equality amongst everything. Even though there are people that are in charge to kind of run things, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a well-functioning family, a healthy family. And there have been times that I've been on major budget sets with that same fun, great experience. And there's been some times on bigger things where there's been power struggles and difficult situations. So, like, everyone is a kind of a different thing. I'm at this phase of my career now where I liken myself to a closer in baseball, if you're a baseball fan. And it's like, the game's been going well, everything's great, all the marquee players have done their thing, but my job is to come in and throw 3 strikes 3 times. I've got 9 strikes to get us out of this inning, keep the game going, and everybody have a great experience. And that's pretty much what I've been relegated to, which I'm fine with. And it's a big pressure situation. There's been times where there was a movie where there's a whole big crane shot, and I just did Candy Cane Lane for Amazon with Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And so, that it took 2 hours to set the shot up, but I knocked all my work out in 20 minutes. And the director, Reggie Hudlin, who I've worked with before on a movie called Safety for a Disney Plus, Reggie's like, that's why you're here, man. That's why you're the assassin, man. You come in here. Like, we took us all these hours to set it up, and bam, you do your work. So I feel like it's been an incredible kind of ride and experience. And I'm looking forward to what the next chapter of things is,
Yeah. You touched on something, and you say about working with actors like Danny McBride, where where they stick by you because they know you're dependable. You've kind of branched out in a lot of different situations, because I know that you've done several movies with Mark Wahlberg. You did the Spencer movie and Patriots Day, and there's another.
Yeah, I did 3 for them. I did Deepwater. The first one was Deepwater, and Peter Berg, right? The 2 of them. Pete, Pete and I have kind of a shorthand, even when it comes to direction. It's like there's times he's at the monitor, or he's watching for a bit, and he'll get halfway to me to give me a note. And I was like, what I was thinking is blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah, do that. It's like, we don't even finish, we're a couple. We don't even finish each other's sentences. So there's something about these collaborations that I have that really work.
Right.
And also just, once, as you said, once you kind of prove yourself on that set, and also I think that's another testament to kind of just proper decorum. I think the other thing one of the things I taught to my son is to go, when you get on set, grab your phone. When you meet the first AD or the second AD or things, or the people that are doing your costume, just write their name down on your phone, just so you kind of remember their name.
Right.
And so they know who you are, but I think it's really good for you to have a relationship with them over time too. And if your clothes, when you get into your trailer, are hung up when you leave, they should be hung up just like you're at home, because they're the first ones here and the last ones to leave, and they shouldn't be having to clean up after you. So, just kind of having a good professional decorum, I think is important. And one of the things is that, working with Mark and Pete is a great experience. Mark is a very focused, very serious person on set. Off set, super fun and everything. But when we're on set and the meter's running, he's uber hyper focused.
Yeah.
And I've also kind of adapted that philosophy on set too, because I used to like to have a lot of fun and play games and joke around. But I'm also like, if that takes up time, or if that doesn't, not everybody kind of likes to work that particular way. So yeah, it's being able to kind of navigate your way through it. But yeah, working with Pete and Mark, and I just saw Pete the first of this year. We hadn't seen each other in almost 5 years since the Penn Spencer premiere, because between COVID and he was doing shows in Canada and then New Mexico, and so we weren't able to kind of connect in that regard. But we were able to see each other, and we still have a nice relationship. And but I think it's about building a relationship and a rapport and finding a good collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
What about what you have to offer serves their work?
Exactly. And I've gotten to interview a lot of actors who are relatively new, and they're looking for their big break. And and you're speaking to them saying, you have to learn how to make that connection and establish your dependability. And that will not always, but gives you a better shot at getting your foot in the door.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I stay away from kind of old school ideology of having a break, and because then there's kind of like a expectation of results or outcomes, and that's I've seen a lot of people leave this business because of the frustration of the results and the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really liken what I'm doing to being a journeyman actor more so than a character actor, that I'm on a journey.
Okay.
And like any good journey, there's lots of changes, and there's pivots that you have to do. There's but in terms of breaks, I don't when you make it or when you hit, there is no there. That's I think that's the falsehood, like Hollywood is this. It's just a desert. It's just Hollywood's just a place.
Right.
And it's a matter of how much you kind of buy into the ideal of that. And there's some people that are still buying into that, still a place that you go to do things. And the films are going other places, other countries, other states, And so I feel like, I think it's good to have goals and set goals, attainable and unattainable, and just be disciplined and continue to work. Like I teach, I've been coaching for the last almost 10 years, and I have about 2,500 students online all over the world, which is exciting. And I really feel like it's the more I try to instill in my students that you're continue to grow, that it's really all about just getting a little bit better. And if you really stay focused on your craft, and you also kind of be mindful of the business in terms of how you market and how you present yourself, in terms of your pictures, your resumes, and your reels, but make sure that that's consistent. So that there's good. I don't believe in branding, but it really is kind of branding. It's consistent messaging of like, this is the kind of work that I do. I recut a demo reel every quarter, every 4 times a year. I recut, I grab things from another thing. I put these two together. Like I'm doing different things because I feel you have to change and evolve. It's an ever change. It's a drastically changing business right now. And to kind of put benchmarks on, well, if I get here, then I'll be happy. Or if I get this, then I think it's good to have goals, but I feel like be happy, go on the journey. As opposed to there's a destination. If I get this, I'll get this.
Yeah.
The transactional nature of it, which is very hard, hard to stay away from.
Okay. James, if you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but
yeah.
One of your first roles was in the Blues Brothers movies in the 1980s. Now, you were obviously probably like a teenager at that point, maybe.
I was, yeah.
Looking back now, what would you have liked to tell that guy acting in that movie?
Oh, yeah, to be more patient, for sure. Because I wanted it all, and I wanted it to happen immediately, And to be more patient and to be a little more disciplined. I think the thing is, I think I really I rested on a lot of charm. I rested on a lot of natural, instincts, gifts, and abilities. And I think if I were to talk to my younger self from that first project, and 80 films later, that was the other thing. 80 films later, it's like the last one was opposite Mel Gibson with 11 scenes and paragraphs of dialogue. And man, I was not as prepared as I thought I was going to be prepared. Mm-hmm. And that was tough, and John Goodman, gave some really great advice to my son about stuff. And he goes, man, you can never be, underprepared. Like, make sure you're just preparation. And that's how I feel about the business. There is a sense of, I'm not a big fan of like luck, but I feel that there's fortune that you can kind of create through your actions, through your words, through your deeds. Actions and deeds are the same. But point being is that it's when preparation and opportunity meet. That's when I think really kind of things happen. So you kind of prepare for these kind of opportunities that kind of come your way.
Yeah. Now, how did your son get involved with being with you in Righteous Gemstones? Did you ask him, or did he ask you? And say, Dad, that's just like a lot of fun.
No, we both have. I just talked to my agent today. We both had the same agent, and I booked the role of Chad first, mm-hmm. and then they said they're looking for someone to be Danny McBride's son. Why don't you have Kelton Reed? He had done a little acting before. He had done Logan, the movie with Hugh Jackman, okay. And he had done Astronaut Wives Club, a recurring role on that. And so I feel like he auditioned, like he put on a self-tape, and we did it in my studio, in my house, and I gave him a few pointers and stuff like that. But he was just this, he was great, and I gave him a what we call a button or a close of the thing, a way to kind of button the scene. Is like I said, use a Bible quote, like he's saying that you're a bad kid, but like he's no saint either. So it's like, find some sort of Bible quote that he who has glass houses shouldn't throw stones or something like. So he found some quote, and they loved it. And so they flew us out to Charleston. We met with Danny. I got to meet with Danny then, and we went on a road trip for 6 years with these guys, and it's just been incredible. Yeah.
Now, out of all the parts that you've played, is there anything that you want to do that you haven't done, or you think you've pretty much got it covered?
Oh, no, I got a lot of things I haven't kind of done. Like the irony, I was having this meeting with this manager, and I said, she goes, well, what kind of roles haven't you played? And I said, well, the irony is, I've been a father for almost 25 years. I said, but I haven't really played a lot of fathers. I haven't played a dad, mm-hmm. So I said, that's a thing I definitely want to kind of explore. And there's also this other kind of there's this movie, and I don't remember the title. Maybe if you're a James Gandolfini fan, there's a movie that James Gandolfini did just before he passed with Julie Louis-Dreyfus. It was like a romantic comedy.
Yes.
And he was like a divorced husband who has this relationship with Julie. And she's like, I think he's sexy because he's, pudgy, funny. I like this. And so for me, I felt like I'm looking for, that's a role that I'm interested in, is that the unlikely romantic lead. I think if you even see Paul Giamatti does, Paul Giamatti kind of does that in Sideways. Do you know what I mean? You kind of he's not the seemingly the Thomas Hayden Church character, but you kind of fall for him a bit. You looking it up?
Enough Said is the name of the movie.
Enough Said, exactly.
My wife saw it, and I was like, I've heard of this movie.
Yeah, I'm looking for my Enough Said.
I like that. That's really interesting. It's funny, on your IMDb page, you have the reels, with your little segments of
Uh-huh.
and it's amazing because I guess this is probably one of the perks to being an actor who's done so many different types of roles, because you've got and I don't want to be insulting, so please don't take this wrong. You've got a relatable look, you don't oh, this guy looks like the most handsome man in Hollywood. He can't play a villain, but you've you've played henchmen, you've played lawyers, you've played upset parents,
Yeah. Yeah, I think in here I consider myself an everyman. So, and I'm also kind of playing roles and speaking for characters that aren't the leads. What I see, the real people. The real fathers and the husbands and sons and uncles and business associates and politicians and serial killers, all kinds. I've played serial killers, all kinds of things. So, yeah, I feel it's like. That's also one of the things like why Peter Berg and I work together is he likes to make movies about real human beings, not supernatural figures from Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Real human beings put in life-death situations where they have to make life-death decisions. And what does somebody do in those situations? And part of this also, you have to believe me. You have to think authentically that you buy and believe me in each of these situations. So this everyman face serves Peter Berg's. He also likes to shoot it kind of documentary style. So there has to be, you can't feel like the person's acting, and you can't feel like you don't believe that they are who they are. So the fact that this round little face, or we used to be a bigger face, now I've lost weight, but this face, can be the vice president of BP. It can be the emergency management guy in Patriots Day. It can be the tracksuit puffy, fat mob guy stretching his tracksuit out, that in Spencer Confidential. So, I help to serve his vision. And I've worked with Soderbergh, a couple of times. I've worked for Spielberg twice. It's a matter of Reggie Hudlin I've worked for twice. So there's this repeat business that's coming back. So I'm obviously doing something right. And that, I think it's, and now I'm kind of wanting to kind of move into more supporting leads and maybe less what I would call utility characters, expendable utility characters. I've moved from the co-star. Your character name is your job description, doorman, fireman, and you get to a first name and then you get two names,
right? And then a backstory,
right, exactly. It's like you get a whole, like in Unit 234, I'm like, Leon. I still just have Leon, but I'm like number 4. Like there's 3 other people above me, and then there's me, and then Chris Baker,
right? And I was going to say, like when you say like the everyman face, it's funny because like. We're talking here on Zoom. It's an audio podcast, so people, may not know what you look like right this very second. But if they see your picture, they know what you look like. But it's interesting. Like if there were another person here and we were hanging out socially, having a drink or whatever, they'd be like, "Yeah, regular guy." But then again, they see you in like Stranger Things, where you're pounding on that car window and you've got this intense look on your face, and it'll just scare the crap out of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even now, like, because, this is audio as opposed to video. It's like, I have this goatee that I had for the movie, Hunting Season, which is the movie I did with Mel Gibson. It's like, I had it grown out. We look closer to each other, but then once I finish shooting this next thing, this goatee's going off. And sometimes I have a little gray in my hair, and sometimes I shave it fully bald, so I have different looks, that I feel kind of fit for particular types of roles. So,
James, the one thing that I've learned about you, I mean, apart from all the TV shows and movies that you did, is that you're actually genealogically connected to television.
Yes.
Your uncle was the founder of the Dumont network.
That is correct. For those who know their radio and TV history, my great uncle Alan B. Dumont, who was one of the inventors that worked with the picture tube, the cathode ray tube, was a scientist, had lots of patents, but the first television network, multiple stations owned by under one umbrella, was the Dumont Television Network. And on there were, for those who are much older or know those shows, the Cavalcade of Stars, Show of Shows, the Jackie Gleason Show. And in the Jackie Gleason Show, there was this sketch about a bus driver named Ralph and his friend named Norton, and that became the Honeymooners. So the original Honeymooners was on the Dumont Television Network, and then he went over to Bill Paley, and moved it over to CBS. But so my uncle, and then later on that became Channel 5, and that became WFLD, part of multimedia. And so I am a direct descent and lineage to the first television millionaire, the first television, but there's really great stories. I've been trying to work on a biopic about him. I did an interview with somebody and they were like, "Oh my God, dude, I know all about him," and blah, blah, blah. It's like, we got to talk, I studied him and the network, but there's great stories that he had polio as a kid, and that kept him at home. So he was at home for a good while, and he learned how to take apart a radio and put it back together. And this is kind of like where his kind of story starts. Mm-hmm. But as somebody who had polio, so when the war was, when men were coming back from World War II, he would have people that had amputees or some sort of, they were working on the assembly line. So he was putting people that were disabled and handicapped to work on the assembly line, especially they were veterans. The other story about him too was that I had ran into an actor named Alan Rich, who's a really well-known old school character actor. Mm-hmm. And Alan Rich was blacklisted. He was part of an acting troupe. He worked with the group theater, and then he went to one communist meeting, just because he told us there was a girl that he liked, and he went with her. And so he got blacklisted and was not able to work. Well, Alan would hire blacklisted theater actors to be on his network. And he said he got to be on the Alan B. Dumont network, and on one of the shows, he kind of fancied this one particular dancer, and that became his wife of 50 years. So I ran into him at a charity event, and we had an incredible experience. He told me all these stories about my great uncle and how he was a pioneer. Also on the Dumont Television Network was the first African-American female host of her own television series. It was a cooking show. There was also an Asian American woman who had a cooking show on there as well. So, pioneer breakthrough. It's like you have, two females had their own television show. Yeah, it was towards cooking, but the point was these were, African-American female and African and Asian American female having their own television show back in the 40s, 50s. Yeah. And so there's something about, so I've been wanting to kind of do a biopic about him along the lines of kind of like Tucker, that movie Tucker I really loved. And, unsung kind of hero. So a friend of mine has been working on, there's just only so much time in a day. Like I have 3 auditions this week. So I have 6 pages of dialogue on a brand new audition. I have 6 pages over here I got to knock out tomorrow morning. So yeah, it's hard for me to kind of find, there's only, I sleep 6 hours, there's 18 hours in a day. So other than that, I got to eat a little bit. I got to exercise. So yeah, it's been, but yeah, so that's the long story of Alan B. Dumont, and the fact that, my son and I are doing television together. That's a, really great thing.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you could pull that off, that would probably be like a true full circle moment for you.
Well, absolutely. And I've had lots of them. I've had lots of these full circle moments, and that would be but one for sure.
Okay. So before I let you go, are there any other projects that you can let us know apart from Unit 234? Unit 234 coming out.
Just to encourage everybody, if they have not seen The Righteous Gemstones, it is so much fun. Mm-hmm. Every season gets better. It gets crazier. It's just full. It's full hypocrisy at the highest level, especially these times. It's really great to be able to laugh at the powerful, and how they kind of gain power. And then I have this movie called Hunting Season that is coming out opposite Mel Gibson, and it has the daughter from Ozark as the other lead in there, and so that film should, I guess, probably 6 months away, somewhere in there, probably hopefully by the end of the year, and so yeah, really, those are the two. I got Unit 234 coming out on May 9th, and then I got that. And then there's some projects that I'm auditioning for that I hopefully will come my way. So we'll see how that goes. The one I'm taping tomorrow morning is with a huge movie star for a television show. And so we'll get to see how that goes. Yeah.
All right. Is there a way that people can find out more about you? You have any stuff out in the socials?
Yeah. I have also. I've been an on-camera specialist, self-tape specialist for the last 10 years, teaching people how to do self-tapes and how to audition. So there's 2 ways to find me there. It's oncameraworkouts.com is our website. And then we're on Instagram at oncameraworkouts. And then if they want to follow me personally, it's James Dumont, Dumont. And that's on Instagram. And I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't go on Twitter anymore. But Facebook, but I'm full on Facebook. So yeah, Instagram's my favorite go-to place. But if they really want to learn more about the classes and things, on my on-camera workouts page are actual auditions that are from jobs. You actually see the audition from Dallas Buyers Club and then my scene. I call that self-tape to set. And then there's also just lots of really great advice. And I also do a thing for writers on Monday nights. I've been doing this for the last 4 years or 5 years now, called Monday Funday, and it's free for actors, writers who want to have their screenplays read by actors. We do features and we do pilots as well. And that's free on every Monday night. And all that information can be found on On-Camera Workouts. And so it's a way in which that writers get their material read and actors really get to kind of play. Like last week, we had 63 characters in 3 hours. So it's a great opportunity for actors to act, and for them to develop material. So those are all the things that I kind of do because I want to help the next generation of writers tell stories and actors get opportunities to build relationships with future collaborators. So that's what it's for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be sure to catch him on Righteous Gemstones as Chad, and of course in the upcoming movie Unit 234. And probably if you flip through the channels one day, you're bound to see him.
Yes.
And at least 5 TV shows a movie.
I'm the Forrest Gump of actors. I just kind of show up in all these different things, yes.
The omnipresent James Dumont, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks again.
Listen and subscribe on podcast apps everywhere. And we're on YouTube at Sherpa-lu. Sorry, no video. You're welcome.
Thanks so much to our guest, James Dumont, for a really interesting conversation. And be sure to check out Unit 234. I will provide a link to the movie trailer on the show notes. And believe me, Rebels, you better check it out. It looks like a really good movie. And thank you to you for listening. If you want to hear some more of this, we're on podcast apps everywhere and on the Sherpa-lu YouTube page as well. No video, just my dulcet tones. Something like that. I don't know. Next week, I believe we will be back with an episode of maybe a Sherpa Selects. So we'll bring back a classic, just like you can hear on Saturday. And the following week, I'll have something new for you as well. And be sure to check out our other Sherpa Selects on Saturday. Those are the faves that I'm launching on my YouTube channel, so we got to put them out there. And if you missed them the first time around, you get to hear them this time around. So thank you again for listening. And until then, I say to you, Viva la Sherpa-lu.
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa Screening Room. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. I'm Mr. Bruce, and this has been a Sherpa-lu Studios production. Viva la Sherpa-lu.